I actually got asked to be a speaker at the photography show in Birmingham at the NEC on 2 of the days. So this is the first year that they have done an analogue spotlight, masterminded by Hamish and Paul. We filmed some footage. I thought I'd tell you about my experience of being there, about how the analogue spotlight felt. I travelled up Monday morning from Norfolk, which was a long journey. I wasn't too worried about the speech, but I think it was just like a culmination of everything going wrong. I was so late arriving that I then just felt really jittery. I ended up rushing through the speech. I didn't feel like I said everything I wanted to. I got the main points across, but I didn't, you know, I think it was just a bit rushed. We had such a big crowd, actually. I was really surprised how many people came to listen to me. And yeah, I had some really interesting people then come and chat to me afterwards. This wonderful guy who makes his own lenses out of just things he finds around the house, or he said he ordered some glasses lenses off of eBay and then made lenses with those and like drain pipes. It was just amazing, and he was showing me some of the results that he'd got, and yeah, it was just really lovely to speak to people afterwards who'd actually taken something from the talk. Afterwards, once I'd actually done the speech, then I got to chat to people, and it was just really lovely meeting the faces behind some of the brands. So for instance, at Ilford, it's quite a big brand, you wouldn't necessarily know who you were talking to, so getting chatting to the people on the stands. And at Patterson, it was just really lovely. Really lovely. And of course, my best friend Eve, Digital Eve, came with me, and she enjoyed being recognised from some of our YouTube videos, which is again really lovely. Yeah, she came to support me. The speech I did on the second day, that went so much better. That went much more how I planned it in my mind. So just to talk about how much I rushed the first one, I did my speech in 15 minutes on the first day. I did it in 24 minutes on the second day, so that's how much I rushed the first one. Again, I had a really lovely big crowd for the second one. Jamie from Front Photography came, and he made a special effort to rush to listen to the talk on the second day. I think very lucky that him and also Paul from Analogue Wonderland were there on the second day rather than the first day to hear the better version of that talk. But again, I had people come up afterwards to talk to me about some of the things that they've been doing, and it was just really lovely. Keep focused on me, mate. When Sophie, who is one of the event coordinators, contacted me about doing a talk, my initial reaction, I think, was one of imposter syndrome. I was like, what on earth could I possibly talk about? What on earth could I bring a value to this event? Her opinion was that it would be good to have me talking on one of the days where they do free entry for students, so we'd have a lot of students there that day. That played very nicely into my value of always considering myself a beginner, always considering myself a learner. And so that's where I pitched my talk. I wanted to do something about having a bit of fun and experimenting. So I broke my speech down into like 4 sections. I had one on the actual shooting of you know, different crazy film stocks, or making your own crazy film stocks, like pre-exposed film, film souping, things like Loma Chrome Purple. Then we moved on to the developing process. So obviously I talked about my dance developing 1, 2, and 3. Videos and experiments, and so I think, Eve, can you put a lovely little card that links to those if anyone's interested, of course. We talked about pushing and pulling film, so experimenting with the timings, experimenting with temperature, and then I started to talk about things that I would like to try out, such as bleach bypass processing, and then we moved into creative darkroom techniques. Again, this is an area that I haven't actually started in, so I've been learning the basics of my darkroom, getting used to my equipment, but I really want to start doing some cool, unusual things. I recently got a book, which I mentioned in the talk, called Darkroom Dynamics, which is all about different things that you can do in the darkroom, such as hand colouring prints and all these crazy geometric ideas. Yeah, just really cool. And then finally we talked about mixed media printing. Again, it's an area that I haven't actually delved into myself, but I was able to share some examples from other people in the community. I reached out to a few artists that I really love, and they very kindly sent me their work, so obviously I credited them, linked them and said, you know, these are some of the cool ideas that people are coming up with across the community and ideas that I would really like to have a go at myself. So it was nice to have sort of like a half and half speech where half of it is stuff that I've tried and half of it is stuff that's on my wish list. I think it worked really well. As I say, the first day I was just so flustered, but the second day it was that lovely, calm, just basically like chatting to friends, all sat on benches. Coming back to film photography during the pandemic, everything has been virtual. All these people I have only met online. I've never spoken to them sort of face to face, in person. It was actually quite overwhelming to actually see all these people, to actually have that social interaction. It was just really lovely. I need to get a thesaurus, don't I? And what was really nice about the way that the Analog Spotlight had been done is that because this was like a trade show, you're used to having just stands where the businesses are selling their wares or just raising awareness, whereas the Analog Spotlight area was more like a community hub. There were tables and chairs, the speech talk area was benches, there was no, you know, raised podium, you know, raised bit or anything. It was community minded. It was very much like a gathering of friends rather than a business to business area. And I think that works so well because for me, one of the biggest attractions to film photography is the community around it. It is so different from anything else I've experienced within photography. Everyone was just supporting each other. In fact, I was talking to Steve from Chroma Camera because I noticed that his stand was just a couple away from Intrepid Camera, and from the outside you might say that they both make large format cameras. Are they in direct competition with each other? How does that feel within this small community? And it was really lovely to hear him say that actually they really support each other. Intrepid Camera is a few more years down the line, a bit bigger, and the owner of that business often chats with Steve and gives him advice and talks about expanding and this and that, and whenever each of them comes out with new products they talk to each other and say this is what we're bringing out. And I just think that, isn't that so lovely? Like the idea that you don't have to be in competition with other people, you share a passion, you create a project, a product or a project within that passion, and you all just support each other. And it's really lovely. I can't stop saying it's lovely. I tell you what, it's because I've finished work now. I'm now in just a everyone's lovely mode. And tea helps. I mean, come on, yeah. I've just come away feeling so enthused that you know, there are even people I've not spoken to before, such as Steve and other people, and it was just really lovely to come away full of excitement for new projects, full of ideas, full of inspiration. So many collaborations in the pipeline, I think. So yeah, it was just really lovely. And of course, having my best friend there with me was a bonus.
And the lift doesn't work in the server room. Oh boy.